The Macedonian gold staters, for many the maximum expression of Greek numismatic art and the crown jewel of any important Hellenistic coin collection. These coins were struck as important storages of wealth. They were the currency of big transactions between major merchants and governments. Although I have previously discussed gold staters in the overall context of the Macedonian monetary standard, this is the kind of important coin that deserves its own video. So today, let me give you a brief overview about this denomination, how it came to be, what was it used for, how it became popular, and obviously let's look at a couple of beautiful examples. Let's get started. And to start, we need to get a bit of historical context. Having a gold coin be part of your monetary system in the ancient world was complicated. Gold was obviously very scarce, meaning even a small quantity would have a very high value. Lots of it would be hoarded by your citizenry as jewelry, by your temples, etc., leaving even less of its scarce supply to be transformed into coinage. And unless you had some sort of stable source of this precious metal, somewhere where it came from in a steady stream, it proved to be very hard to establish a standard gold coin. You have on your screen now a map of the Eastern Mediterranean and some of the main gold coins that were struck around this area during the classical period, so between 500 to 350 BC roughly. Of course, this map generalizes things a bit for the sake of simplicity, but as you can see, just a few regions struck its own native gold coins. Namely, the Persians to the east struck the daric, as of course the Persian Empire was immensely rich. It had mines in its vast territories, as well as access to the Indian subcontinent where gold was also plentiful, so they could import it. We also see that the western coast of Asia Minor, what is today modern-day Western Turkey, had some local sources of electrum. So electrum was a gold and silver alloy, and this allowed the Greek city-states there to strike gold coins in sufficient numbers as well. And down at the bottom part of the map, we see that Egypt was also a source of gold to the Mediterranean. It had access to the rich gold mines of Africa through commerce, and some of the very last native pharaoh dynasties struck coins in gold to pay for Greek mercenaries to fight their wars. But when we think about the coins of classical Greece, and if we focus on the Greek mainland specifically, we see that silver coins dominate the monetary landscape. Silver was much more abundant in Greece. Think about the millions of Athenian tetradrachma that were struck during the classical period. And this discrepancy between the silver and the gold supplies meant that gold really didn't take off as a metal intended for money in this area. We do have plenty of artifacts, jewelry, religious instruments made of gold attributed to mainland Greece, showing they did have access to some gold, but of course they didn't just have enough of it and didn't have a stable supply of it to establish a coin. Of course, it's not like there were absolutely no gold coins ever to be struck in mainland Greece during the classical period, but they were generally made during emergencies when funds needed to be raised. On your screen now you have the example of a very rare gold obol struck in Athens during the very end of the Peloponnesian War. Athens was pretty much defeated at this point. Its silver mines had been taken by the Spartans, and in a desperate move, they melted down some of the gold statues they had at the Parthenon and made these tiny gold coins to pay for their troops. So as you can see, there were some exceptions, but they were exceptions. This would change with Philip II of Macedon. Philip gets overshadowed by his son, Alexander the Great, but he really deserves attention. Brilliant general, great politician, he managed to get much of Greece under Macedonian rule, or at least under their influence. And this new, much larger territory must have meant that new trade routes allowed a larger influx of gold to the region. And when Philip reformed the monetary system of his kingdom, he finally instituted a standardized gold coin that would circulate alongside silver. This is a good clue for us to look at our first coin of today, a gold stater of Philip II. This particular coin is from around the years 340 to 328 BC, so not only struck under Philip II but also posthumously by Alexander in his name. The mint for this one is probably Amphipolis, one of the main cities of the original Macedonian territory. It's interesting to see, even though Alexander struck his own type of gold stater, his own design, in the original Macedonian territories he kept striking the type attributed to his father. Of course, this was due to how well received this type was in the area, but also as a move to give him some sort of legitimacy with the people back home. On the obverse we have this wonderful bust of Apollo, wearing a laurel wreath. The choice of Apollo here is quite smart. Macedonians in general were considered a bit of, let's say, barbarians in the overall Hellenistic sphere. Philip's coinage in general depicted gods as a way to show his character as a true Hellene, and Apollo being the god of music, poetry, everything that was bright, shiny, glorious, and of course of the sun, is a perfect choice for a gold coin. These are exquisite coins. I would spend hours looking at these obverses. On the reverse we have a charioteer. The chariot was a symbol of military triumphs, of authority and royalty. So while the obverse was meant to represent in a sense some divine right, the tacit agreement of the gods to the rule of Philip, the reverse makes manifest his success in the worldly sphere. Some also claim that this reverse has to do with the fact Philip was an Olympic champion. One of the main events of the classical Olympics was chariot racing, and Philip's horses often won first prize. It's not like Philip himself rode the chariots during the games, but back then the owner of the horses, the chariot and the rider, was given credit for the victory. So it's reasonable to make the argument that Philip wanted to boast on his victories. And under the charioteer, of course, we have his name, Philippo, or belonging to Philip. Some of you might be wondering, where did this gold stater fit into the Macedonian monetary standard? Alexander, so Philip's son, instituted a trimetallic system, with bronze meant for small everyday transactions, struck at many different local mints and meant to be used as fractional coinage, where the use of silver was impractical. Silver itself was an intermediate currency, and the bulk of transactions would be made in silver. So think about more substantial purchases like clothes, tools, weapons, the payment of wages, and more specialized services. And gold would be either used for major transactions or as a storage of wealth. One stater would be equal to 20 silver drachmae or 5 tetradrachm. If we can use it as an example, the idea of like how much money we're talking about. Think about a hoplite, the main soldier, the main frontline soldier the Greeks had. When he was on campaign, a hoplite would be typically paid 2 drachmae a day, and that was considered a good salary. So a single stater could pay for 10 days of service, an important sum of money. But of course the most popular gold staters have to be those of Philip's son, Alexander the Great. Alexander's greatest victory, the conquest of the Great Persian Empire, led to him capturing the enormous reserves of gold and silver belonging to Darius III. Much of that gold was made into these gold staters and shipped back to Greece, leading to a major economic boom. Quite a few of these coins have survived to our days, but of course due to the huge demand there is amongst collectors, these gold staters are common, but they're still quite pricey. Interestingly, this particular piece we have today is also a posthumous piece, this time after the death of Alexander. So this particular coin is dated between 323 and 317 BC, and it's connected to his half-brother, Philip III, probably struck at the mint of Babylon, where Alexander intended to establish his great capital. Alexander's great war against the Persians was one of revenge, at least according to him. He wanted to punish Persia for its invasion of Greece during the Persian Wars. So the obverse of this coin, a helmeted bust of Athena, is the perfect representation of this revenge. Athena was the patron deity that defended the Greek people. She was the goddess of defensive wars, the protector of the civilized world, the protector of everything Greek. So putting her on the obverse is the perfect message of now it's the time of the Greeks, now it's the age of the Hellenistic people. and these coins will go far and wide showing just that. Quite a lot of nice touches on the bust. Her helmet has this lovely crest on top of it, and we can see her hair falling down her back, coming out of the helmet. And she's often decorated with nice little touches like earrings and necklaces. Such a lovely coin. On the reverse, we also have a reference to the Persian Wars. We have a winged Nike, the incarnation of victory, holding a laurel wreath, obvious symbol of victory and glory, and the stylix. The stylix was a religious symbol, almost like a protective charm put on the prow of Greek warships. This is likely a reference to the Battle of Salamis, a massive sea confrontation between Greeks and Persians that finally marked the expulsion of the Persians from the Greek mainland, and the great guarantee of Greek independence. Typically for these types, the legends around Nike would read Alexandrou Basileus of King Alexander, but being a posthumous piece, we have a little variety here. We have Philippou Basileus of King Philip, referencing Alexander's successor. The stater would continue to be struck throughout the Hellenistic period by Alexander's successor kingdoms. The political disunity of this period gave rise to new designs for each kingdom, depicting their own kings and images, but the original idea of the stater would caught on: a storage of value, a prestige piece for royal propaganda, and a coin for the rich and powerful, a compact way of paying large sums of money. Hopefully, I can one day add one gold stater to my own collection. So how about you people? Have you got a gold stater? Which of the stater designs do you like the most? Let us know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this little episode. Leave a like and consider subscribing if you did. Happy collecting, and I'll see you soon.